Welcome to the podcast, Organized Mayhem. We're coming to you from 110 South 11th Street, which is the home of Maria and the Rap Shack. And we are here to talk to you about all things Philadelphia restaurant business and everything in between. I'm Cammie, here with my brother Scott and my friend John Lupa. There we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our episode, our very special episode of Organized Mayhem. We have a very special guest today, which I will introduce in a minute. But first, let's say hi to my co-host, Scott and John Lupa. Okay, boys, announce once for the 1,000th time. Where are you fellas?
Good.
Yeah, go
right.
Jump in.
We're at 110 South 11th Street at Maria. Next
Yes.
door is 112 South 11th Street, the Rap Shack.
All right. Happy day. Today, we have a surprise guest. There's not many guests that we can say that we all love. We all love, especially when it's Mrs. Hockfield, and it would not be my mother. It would be my sister-in-law.
Hello.
Sherri. Sherri is my sister-in-law, Scott's wife, Lupa's friend, and aunt to my children, mother to two beautiful my nieces. She is amazing, and we're going to find out a little bit about her and talk to her about her hubby, owner of the Rap Shack, Maria, and father of her children. Sherri, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, Sherri, you are not in the restaurant business.
No, well, by default, but not my day job.
Yes, I would say it's not your day job. I would say you are restaurant adjacent. What do you do professionally?
I do management consulting, CFO work for a management consulting firm called Aventus, and we're hired by private companies, public companies in like a management consulting fractional CFO capacity. We do anything from month-end close, general bookkeeping, accounting, all the way up to M&A, consulting, helping with investor relations, raising capital, filing public filings, and so forth.
All right, M&A, just somebody who doesn't know. I know M&Ms, but I don't know what
right. Not like M&Ms to eat. M&A stands for mergers and acquisitions.
Aha. Okay, so basically you're the go-to business, all ins and outs. Is that right? You help advise a business how to get started?
How to get started, but our focus is on finance and accounting.
Okay. Do you use any of your expertise to help your husband?
Of course.
Mm-hmm. And is it hard to advise your husband, knowing like your knowledge about like how you organize and structure other business? Like, just is it hard to, especially, I know my brother has talked about this before, and I don't know if you feel the same way, is that I barely understand what you just said that you do. I could never chime in and say like, oh, Sherri, have you ever thought about doing this? But my brother and Lupa, in a restaurant business, everybody goes out to eat. So they're always getting like suggestions. Oh, did you ever think about this? Or, oh, did you ever think about that? So as both like someone who likes restaurants and somebody in business, do you try to not talk about work with Scott, or are you always offering suggestions? Like, where do you see your role fitting into the restaurant business?
That's a great question.
Well, we've been at this for quite a long time now, right, Scott? Probably since 2003, I think. So my role historically has always been helping with like getting started from a finance perspective. So when we needed to raise money, putting together like a deck, presentation. At one point, we've got an SBA loan from, Truist Bank. And so that was sort of my role, is to, kind of work with the banker and get all the documents ready, help with like budgeting, forecasting, things like that. And then there's ebbs and flows, right? So when we get started and we're, opening up a new restaurant, my involvement is a lot. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of tapers off. And then, John and Lupa do their thing. So John and Lupa, I just said, Scott and Lupa.
So I would say like, as somebody who is, so as an aside, not only is she Scott's wife and my sister-in-law and aunt to my children, but she's also my bestie, and I consider her my sister. So just as a disclaimer, I'm not like just interviewing Sherri. I know Sherri very well, but as somebody who is in like more, I would say, a corporate setting, like used to a corporate setting, and the restaurant business is an odd business. It's not really corporate. How are you and Scott able to balance like the different personality styles and work styles? Like if you're offering advice.
Well, it's morphed over the years. I'd say in the beginning, I was horrified. And I also spent some time working in insurance, specifically with directors and officers and employment practices liability. And so if anybody knows what employment practices liability, it's like sexual harassment, wrongful termination, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So you can only imagine more so for, corporate, in the corporate setting. So you can only imagine the stories that Scott would come home telling me. And I was like, la, 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 la. I don't want to hear it. So we definitely made sure we secured employment practices liability. That was something that I contributed to early on. But I had to also, balance the what is normal in the restaurant bar business compared to what is quote unquote normal in the corporate world, which is, as you can imagine, very different.
All right, Scott, this question's for you. Like, what kind of things do you lean on Sherri for?
Basically everything. She knows the ins and outs of business. So, and she can look at things in a different perspective than I can, in the sense that, I look at it on a day basis. We're doing this, weather related, this and that. By the end of the day, it's about the numbers. So she can really crunch the numbers, tell me what I'm doing wrong, where I'm overspending. And so that's kind of how we play off each other. I mean, I know that Tuesday, it could be the most beautiful day in the world. It's going to be a slow day. That's the slowest day in the business. So sometimes Sherri and I are like, she's like, well, it's beautiful. I don't get it. And I'm just like, well, it's Tuesday. It's just not the day for us. Never has been.
Well, if it's a Tuesday, it's beautiful out. I would like to go out for a drink. I don't know.
I'll take you out for a drink. Will work. Well, I'm sorry. He's off for the next week. He won't. I can't do that.
Oh, good for you, Lupa. Good for you.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so Sherri, but besides Ignite,
I'll see you in a week, Sherri.
Yeah.
I see that you can add your work hat to Scott. But, one of the things, as your sister-in-law and as somebody who loves you, being married to someone in the restaurant business is definitely a little tricky, because nights that people are out as couples are Scott's nights that he has to work. And how have you been able to balance that for your marriage and for yourself?
Well, one thing I got to say that where I'm really lucky is my best friend is in the same situation as me.
Yeah.
So we both have husbands in the restaurant business, which has been a godsend, because you'll probably find us hanging out almost every Friday night together. And she also lives 5 houses down from me. So that's been great. My kids are going to college next year. So I'm a little bit nervous, because I've also obviously had them and running around, with the kids as they grow up and things like that. And, now wanting to hang out with them, right, as they're kind of mini adults themselves. But I mean, to be honest, we just kind of make it work. We just kind of figure it out. Sometimes it's harder than others. When Lupa decides to go on vacation is one of the harder times, but he deserves a vacation. Sometimes it's fine, but we just make it work. It's a lot of planning in advance. Usually, we'll say, okay, what's the next week look like? Are you going to be able to take one of the nights off? And then we'll try to plan something. The hardest part is just
goes with me. Sorry for interrupting. Usually goes with me, I'll be home by 5 and get home by 7.
Yeah. Or Scott will be like, oh, I'm taking off Monday. And I'm like, that's great. I work Monday. What? That's not he'll get all excited to tell me. And I'm like, well, that doesn't really do much for me, but okay. The hardest thing is that you just can't be spontaneous. There literally is no spontaneity, right? You can't just be like, oh, it's a Tuesday night. Let's, go out for burgers and let's do this, let's do that. You kind of have to plan everything. So it just makes it a little bit harder. But you make it work. It's all we've ever had. He's been in the restaurant business, like I said, since 2003. So
do you ever find yourself in a position, just say other couples are oh, we would love to go out to dinner with you, and that Scott can't because he has to work. Do you still go and are the single, or is that not fun?
I mean, our good friends, no, right? It's fine. It is what it is. But yeah, I feel sometimes, in fact, this actually just happened to us a few weeks ago. Remember, Scott? We had plans with like 3 other couples. And it happened to actually been Mindy, who I was just talking about, her husband and Scott both.
But it also snowed too.
Last minute, right. But last minute, both they couldn't go. And the other couple who we don't really go out with that much was kind of like, oh, well, let's just reschedule. And we were like, well, we can still go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it depends.
Has Scott ever gone to dinner with you and then gone to work? Like, so you can kind of like do both?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes we do that. Like sometimes you'll come home and then go back. You haven't done that in a while, but you used to like come home and then go back in sometimes.
And so on a Saturday night, like a typical Saturday night, I'm assuming you're sleeping before he comes home.
A lot of times.
Does he wake you up? Like, is he quiet when he gets into it? Because that would be what drives me crazy.
She is the light sleeper, first off. And then if our wonderful dog, Gizzy, is downstairs, I have to go back downstairs and get the dog.
Well, you know, I am proud to say that I weaned myself off, but I was addicted to Ambien for about 10 years. And definitely that was the reason.
Okay.
Because I am a very light sleeper. So like Scott I believe he tries to be quiet, but I hear him. I hear the door open. I think this is also, you can probably relate to this, just being a mom, right? You're always just like, you just hear noises, right? Like if the kids are out and you're expecting them to come home, like you may fall asleep, like but you're not fully in a deep sleep until you know they're home. And so it's sort of the same thing.
Yeah.
But like Life 360 has made it a lot easier, because it used to be like, if I woke up and Scott wasn't home yet, I'd have to call him and say like, where are you? Are you almost home? Now I'm just like, oh, I look at Life 360 and I see, oh, he's either on his way home or he's still there. Fine. I can go back to sleep.
Now I remember this more.
Life 360 does not help when I'm about to leave and I'm really at Milk Boy talking him off a ledge.
Well,
Jesus.
Either way, Sherri is you're somewhere kind of safe. But like, I remember this back in the day when he had his first original Rap Shack. When he would come home, Scott, you would stink. Like, so like, does he shower before he gets, just out of curiosity, does he shower before he gets into bed?
I mean, it's different now, because now it's not like he's in the kitchen. So it's just like he's coming home from any normal job, right? But yeah, back in the day when we had the Rap Shack, I don't know if you guys have ever talked about this, like the history and, of the restaurants and everything, but it literally was a shack on 2nd Street in Philadelphia. And it was, I don't know what, all of 50 square feet. I mean, I don't even, maybe not even. And you just had the grill. And I mean, he didn't even have a bathroom. I mean, you had to go to the bar down the street and you'd put a sign up, be back in 5 minutes, when you had to go to the bathroom. And he would come home from just being all day with like the grease, from the grill and all day.
That's hot. Yeah. So hot, Scott.
Oh yeah. And this was when we were trying to get pregnant. So you can imagine how it's like, get in the shower.
Yeah.
One time.
Even better. It's okay. So now, so he, listen, I'm sure also it's very hard, Sherri. Like when you're like done with work, you could probably put it away like a little bit better than Scott can, because like you can email somebody later. But sometimes, like I know we've been out with Scott and like the bar is still running and he's still getting texts and emails and like looking at it. Do you find it's hard for him to be present? Like if you guys were on a Saturday night date, just the two of you, let's say.
Sometimes, yep. It can be hard for him to be present. I think like this is probably though for any couple, that's been married for this long. Like sometimes you have to put your phones down and you have to really listen to each other. You have to like really try to listen to each other, because, especially when, he's busy. We both have so much going on. Like it's not just him. I do it too. Like I sometimes find myself, he'll say something and then I'll go, I'm sorry, can you just repeat yourself? I literally was not even listening. I have no idea what you said to me. Right. So we all do it, but so like just making really trying harder to actively listen.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think it's not just Scott and his job that like, is always ongoing. I think it's people in general. And as the only, like, there's 3 of us and you guys are the only couple still married. So you guys are obviously doing something right.
There we go.
Yeah, ding, 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 you're the winner. And so let's say, how many years have you guys been married?
Wait, 20 or 21? 21, right? 21.
21 years of marriage.
You guys, I know the date.
Beautiful. And
2602.
2 girls, 2 absolutely gorgeous girls.
No reason for that.
And so let's talk a little bit more about your home life. What is your favorite thing about Scott as a father?
That I can't wait to.
You didn't prep me for this, Cam.
No, I did not.
He's a great father. I mean, he would do anything for those kids. I mean, he really would. He would, I mean, half the time, you know, especially because I work from home, so it makes me a little bit of a recluse. So sometimes, like when you're home, I could go days without even leaving my house. It's really bad.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, can you pick up this, that, or the other for, you know, and he'll, after working like, you know, 15-hour days, he'll run around, he'll get, you know, whatever. Maya just committed to Ohio State on Saturday night. And he was like looking for red balloons and he was going to go out of his way. He went to $2 stores. Then he was like, I'm going to go to Party City. And I had to be like, Scott, just come home. She doesn't need balloons. Like, you know, so, I mean, ultimately, really, I mean, he may not physically be here, but they're always on, you know, they're always on his mind and he would do anything for them.
Top of mind. And Scott, I'm going to follow the same question back to you. What's your favorite thing about Sherri as a mom?
I mean, she does everything. I mean, to be honest with you, she cares. She, you know, if they're in a bad mood, if she's in a bad mood, she's a mom. She's like anything they need. But then, you know, if it's a Friday night, you know, and she wants to detox a little bit and just kind of relax, and they get a little annoying, I can tell when she just needs to sit down, have a drink, and just relax.
And that's your favorite thing about her as a mom?
No. My favorite thing about her, honestly, she does everything.
She does.
Before they had a license, she would take them here, take them there. You know, if they need to go to the doctor or whatever. I don't even know where our doctors are. I had to take one of them to like the dermatologist or whatever, I think. And I was like, where are they? Where do I go? She knows everything, where they are. You know, if they need something, she's on it. I mean, obviously, Amazon has been like her new best friend with you know, not having to go to the supermarket. So, I mean, she's just on top of everything to the point where it's a little embarrassing. The kids don't really ask me for much. You know, they know that Sherri's on top of it. So, yeah, she makes my life easier. She knows
Mommy
when I'm
do it.
Bad day, and she just does it. She does it all. She's a rock star.
She is a rock star. And I think like for both,
that's great.
You guys are both rock stars. You guys both make amazing, you know, you guys are both amazing parents, and you both work really hard, you know, each one of you at your own jobs, right? You both have a lot of responsibility outside of being parents. You know, you both have really demanding jobs, and you do make it look easy. You know, it's like we've all known each other. I mean, obviously Scott and I have known each other since the day he was born, but Sherri, you and I have known each other since you were 18 years old. Right. So like we go through these things in life, like you don't know how people are going to be as parents when like you meet each other in these like really young ages. And, you know, I think both of you provide, not only you guys are amazing parents for your kids, but like as aunts and uncles for my kids, you guys are amazing role models. So that's like always very, very nice. It's a beautiful thing. And, you know, I think so when the kids, like, let's talk a little bit more about the kids. Like, do you think either of them will go into the restaurant business?
No.
No, you answered that fast.
They're not allowed.
They're not.
I don't want them to. I don't want their husbands to be a part of it. I want them to be as far away from this. Let this be my industry.
I actually think that the restaurant business is a little bit of a calling, actually. Like there's some people like that get like super, I would never be drawn into wanting to work at the restaurant business, but I think it takes a certain kind of personality who just like has it. I mean, Scott, you might disagree with me, but I feel like there was something about this business, no matter how hard it is, that it is somewhat built for you and your personality. Do you agree with that?
I do. I think since COVID, it's changed a lot. Maybe a little bit out of my element. I think that
the new generation,
the staff is just it is rough now. It's I say that I've said this on the podcast before. I tell this to Sherri all the time. It used to be, you know, problems would build up, and you know, after a month, someone would come to me with a problem. Now it's if after 2 hours or one shift, it's just always there's always a problem with somebody, and it's just very.
Staff is much more needy. I
Yeah,
think there's
so
less
much more
there's less adults doing this now. There's less people that do this professionally.
The lifers in the business
Yeah.
kind of left the business
They're
during
gone.
COVID, so now it's newer people, and they want instant satisfaction. And it's
Are you seeing that? Are you seeing that with the typical age demographic? Is that how it is? Like, it's a certain age.
Like the younger kids usually.
I think that's across all industries, though. That's like a
agree.
generational
I think
thing.
you're right.
Mhm.
I think they're demanding more and wanting to give less.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it might be more pronounced.
much if it's busy. Right? Again, if it's a Tuesday, it's not always going to be busy. So, either they're making a ton of money, or I have too many people on, and why did I schedule this and that? They got to be prepared.
So as parents of teenagers who are like of that generation, how do you think that because both of your kids are very hard workers, right? They know how to do school very well. They're both really good students. Like, do you think that translates into a business someday? Or like some of these kids are just so good at school, but you put them in like now they're waitresses and they're kind of fetchy. Like, do you think what do you think about your kids? Like, do you think that what would they be like as employees? I think both kids have actually worked there.
Yeah. And I wouldn't mind if my kids wanted to go into the restaurant business, like as like a supplement, when they're young, like through college or whatever. I just wouldn't really want them as a career, just because I know how hard it is and like it takes up a lot of your life. But no, I mean, I think as a general rule, like you sometimes see, with this new generation, like to Scott's point, instant satisfaction, that they don't know how to climb the corporate ladder, so to speak, right? They just want, they want to go from here to here. They don't realize. But you know what? The baby boomers probably said that about us.
For sure.
And then we said that about the millennials. And now the millennials are saying that about, Gen Z, right? So I think it happens like every generation, to be honest.
I agree. I do think that the big thing that's going to change, the biggest change is technology, right? Like, so I do think yes, no matter how things change, things stay the same. I do think that we're in this world where technology has made all of our personalities a little bit different. I also think when I see our kids as students and how committed these kids are to school, they kind of just get programmed to assignment, reward for a job well done, new assignment. So in that assignment, job well done, they do need probably Lupa and Scott, you'd be able to test this, that everyone kind of, if they do a good job, needs a little, you did a good job.
Right.
No, they don't want that at all. They want, where's my bonus? Where's my tip? Yeah, I wish it was just you need a good job.
Yeah, good jobs are free.
Yeah, it's no.
Okay.
We have a busy night in the kitchen. Oh, you're buying us Chinese food tonight. Yeah, they don't want to hear a good job. Good job means nothing to them, right?
I think the kitchen likes a good job.
They like to hear a good job, but then where's my Chinese food?
Yes.
Well, I imagine that there's an art. I actually think there's an artfulness to waitressing too, and bartending. I think all of it, there's an artfulness, and anybody who takes pride in their work, anybody I want to know that if I make dinner, I like to hear someone say that I made a nice dinner. I think that's true. Yeah, listen, I think, Sherri, that you're right. I think every generation, the generation before, is going to be like, these kids are a bunch of spoiled babies.
I think they're finally taking work smarter, not harder. Like they're doing it. They're using their phone to make their lives easier. Whereas I don't know. I see it with the young. Everything's on the phone. Everything. And I'm younger than you guys. And so
yeah, I'm the oldest. I'm the oldie of the bunch.
It's even a bigger jump for me, where it's like everything. Page schedules, email me, text me, and it's nuts.
Yeah, we're having a problem right now. We have someone.
If you talk to somebody face to face,
and we
but you
tell them when he's
don't put it
working
on the app, they won't show up.
Yeah, I'm like, I just talked to you yesterday. I
We
said,
just
come
had
in
this conversation
today because we have a. He's like, yeah, but you didn't change it on the app, so I didn't think I had to come. But I looked at you in the eye. I said, I need you here at 3:30.
Literally 16 hours ago.
What more do I have to
So you
do?
got to back it up on the app.
I guess so. Yeah.
The app is God.
Yes, it's wild.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of times too, everyone's running so busy and so distracted that if there isn't that follow-up in writing somewhere, I think that people just in general, they oh, did that really happen? Because it's not somehow, I think it's no different than kids
Words
meeting.
coming out of your mouth. We had a conversation. You had to like you were talking.
I know.
And
Well,
if I don't get a follow-up email, I'm not going to show up.
Well, I think it's kind of like this, like
a follow-up to a follow-up.
Yeah.
but it's almost like this acknowledgement, like all of our kids, all 4 grandkids, like are into college. But until you announce it on social media and say like, this is where you're going, it's like it didn't exist.
Yep.
Well,
and that's just how they are.
Did you guys do that?
No, there was no internet.
What do you mean? When we went to college?
Yeah. Was there announcement parties? I didn't know if that was like a Northeast.
No,
they didn't have social media. There was no social media.
Right. Yeah. Wild.
We didn't even have Lupa. You probably had cell phone before you went to college. We didn't have cell phones.
Yeah, I had a.
We didn't even have email.
We found out that we got into college when you got an envelope, and then maybe you tell your parents, an aunt, and a friend or two.
And we didn't even have email in high school. Like I remember when I went to college, I'll never forget my user ID was SEL123 at like psu.edu or something. Like that was like my first email I ever got was like my Penn State email. We had to go to the computer lab to check the, your email. You didn't have your own computer, no less, handheld computer in your phone.
Yeah, everything is about like the announcement on that, so I think like that's even more so like, yes, things stay the same, but like these kids do need like this also written or picture proof or something. Oh. I think we lost. All right. So now that we lost them, should we talk about
what else should we talk about?
Really should. So let me ask you, Sherri. So is it ever hard that like you and I are so close and like maybe you want to vent about my brother, but he's still my brother?
No, because I can vent to you about him.
100%. 100%.
You love me more than him. So like,
I mean, like, if anything ever happens, I'm with Sherri.
Yeah, that's no problem.
It's like, listen, we're so lucky, right? Like,
so lucky.
Just so lucky.
I know.
And like, listen, and then what about Scott's work wife, which is Lupa?
Oh yeah, Lupa. Well, so I feel bad talking about him and his work wife without them being on together, but yeah, they are.
Oh wait, we're talking about you now.
What happened to you guys?
Yeah, I was going to say, Sherri.
If I send this laptop home with Scott, can you like clear the stuff off? It keeps popping up. Disk is full. Disk is full. I don't even know what that means.
That's why this is called Organized Mayhem, Sherri. I mean, this is why.
Yeah, right? This is why.
Totally why. Anyway, we were talking about you behind your back. I was saying, like, Sherri, tell me about what you think of Scott and his work wife, Lupa.
Ooh, spicy.
Spicy. I mean, yeah, if Scott was ever going to leave me for someone, I definitely think it's going to be Lupa. Like, I'm not really worried that he'll find another woman. Like, it definitely will be Lupa.
I would divorce him or kill him.
Okay, I know, but
there'd be a lot of police incidents.
Yeah.
A part of that is those two knuckleheads will call you in like the middle of the day and ask your opinion on something ludicrous. Like, do you have an example of like something they've called you about?
Yeah, so let me set the stage for you. I'll be in the middle of, like we talked about earlier, an M&A transaction, right? Like my client is raising $10 million. We're like doing the due diligence. We're setting the stage. Like we're about to sign the docs. And like Scott calls me. I'm like, oh God, what's going on? Everything okay? He's got him and Lupa together. They're like, we have a question. It's really important. I'm like, all right, what is it? We're having this argument. Who would win in a fight, a lobster or a rat? I'm like, okay. Or what was the other things you guys fight about?
Lobster, right? Is the answer lobster? It has to be lobster.
To me, it's lobster. Yeah.
I think it's a rat.
Scott's.
I thought we thought it was a lobster. No,
I think the rat will get on top of the lobster, break the claw.
Exoskeleton, and just the newest thing that I'm obsessed with is Scott dyes his hair, and there's a big conspiracy at the Hockfield.
Lupa thinks Scott dyes his hair. They called me the other day. They're like, has Scott ever dyed his hair? I said, I swear to God, he's never dyed his hair.
Can you imagine him dyeing his hair? He'd get the dye all over his forehead.
Right.
Like, there's no way he would do it correctly.
I think he had this professionally done in a professional cover-up manner.
But how would he do that? He's got the salt and pepper. Like, you think they do the whole salt and pepper look in a dye?
What I deal with on a daily basis.
I think the hair's grown out, and he wanted to get rid of some of the salt and pepper, and he had somebody do a little touch-up job.
There's a 0% chance, like zero. First of all, do you think he's that invested? No offense, Scott. I'm going to say something really mean, but do you think he's that invested in his appearance? Like, what did we get to there?
I think you dressed nice.
Yeah, that would also mean that Scott would have
$1 million.
that would mean he would have to take the time to like go to the hairdresser and like
it's 0% chance. I mean, there's like
I'm lucky
honestly,
I'm wearing a button down today. Really, I was wearing a t-shirt underneath, and I'm like, Sharon, don't worry, I'll change.
yeah.
yeah, another thing that they've called me about is, those like little animals that like, run around Kelly Drive. Are they beavers or groundhogs? That was a whole fight, right?
Okay, what are they? Beavers or groundhogs?
No, what
Gophers.
is Gophers or groundhogs? Yeah.
Oh, gophers or groundhogs. Okay.
What's the difference? Is there a
You
difference?
wouldn't believe that.
I don't know. These two fight about like things that you wouldn't even think about. They're having an argument about it.
So
Okay.
Scott goes, there's groundhogs all over. And I go, listen, I've driven up Kelly Drive. I've never seen groundhog once. And so he's like, watch, we'll find one. We're driving up to Restaurant Depot. A groundhog majestically is like running beside the car.
I've never seen a majestic. Are you sure it wasn't a dog?
No, it was
No,
definitely
no.
groundhog. It was a large groundhog.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Sherri. And I'm sure that you were like, your merger and acquisition could totally be put on hold for such an important topic.
Yeah. I mean, it's important stuff. Yeah, definitely.
Mental health for us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me see. Before we wrap up, Scott or Lupa, do you have any questions for Sherri?
I have a question for you, Sherri. This is one that bothers me.
Uh-oh.
Carrying of loose change drives me insane. That you can live with that, it doesn't even say here. Like I can't imagine at home. The pockets.
Do you hear it? Like when he's walking, do you hear it?
No, but I hear it's the receipts that are falling out. It's the dollar bills. He's like, oh, hold on, I have this key in this pocket from 3 years ago that I know is
It's like my pockets right now.
Okay,
deal with
so
the organization in his pockets.
Things that I find around the house in bulk and random everywhere: receipts, change, and keys.
Yes.
And Weeble Wobbles.
And now Weeble Wobbles. You're right.
What are Weeble Wobbles for?
Weeble Wobbles are those like little plastic things that you stick under the table when like the table's, right.
Okay.
But the Weeble Wobbles are new, but the keys, the change.
Weeble Wobbles is a toy.
Right. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Before we had an office manager, like years back, right? Scott would the receipts, he would come home, put his hands in his pocket, literally take there would be just change, receipts. I'm like, Scott, do you need, yeah. So I used to collect all his change, and then like every year before we went on vacation, I would take it all to the bank or TD Bank used to be great. It had those machines where you used to just dump it all in. It would be so easy.
Giant has one now, I think.
And we would sometimes have $400 in change. So I would do it right before a vacation, when it would be nice to have that money. Yeah.
I don't even understand. Does anyone even use cash anymore? I don't even have cash on me anymore.
Well, no one spends cash here, but we always need cash here.
But why do you always need it?
Because if you got to go to Reading Terminal Market to get avocados or something,
which I actually have to do.
You do.
Yeah.
Okay. But even if I'm buying avocados, I use a card.
Right. You don't have to pay cash for that, but you just choose to pay cash if you have cash laying around.
Yeah. But also, I'm not sending Jose with my debit card.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so it doesn't sound like Sherri sees that. Maybe she's just immune to the change at this point, so it doesn't seem to bother her as much. Scott, do you have any questions for Sherri?
How do you put up with me when I'm moody? Right?
You're not really moody that much.
Thank you.
The hardest part about living with you is actually such a silly thing. So it's not gonna, there are people with real problems. The hardest thing about living with you is just you're unorganized and messy. And for some reason, the sheets come off your side of the bed every single day. I don't know how you can be such an aggressive sleeper. When I wake up in the morning, my sheets are still on the bed. The corner of his bed, mattress, the sheets are always off, always. So, it's not marriage ending or anything, but those are the hardest parts about living.
Do you have a reason for this?
I remember my mom bought me these Our
clips?
mom.
Clips.
These things that like hold it together.
Yeah, I remember we had those years ago.
But I don't do that anymore.
First of all, now,
long.
Yeah, who cares?
if you were to put mom on this, you would all of a sudden she'd be like sending over a million different kinds of products to like stop this from
Oh,
happening
yeah.
and calling like 10 times a day to find out if this was
Which
resolved.
one worked? Mm-hmm.
So Sherri, if you want the problem solved, you know what to
We haven't
do.
even talked
Yeah,
about it.
exactly.
That's going to be on our menu in next week.
Yeah. All right. So anybody have any questions for Sherri?
Sherri, thank you for putting up with all the time I take from Scott when he is.
Lupa,
I will say, yes.
Lupa, thank you for being such a wonderful general manager and partner and friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Sherri, do you have any questions like from a professional place from either Scott or Lupa or myself?
From a podcasting professional place? You guys are rocking. I'm so proud of all you guys, and thanks for having me. It's been really fun.
We love having you, Sherri. We love
again.
it. Sherri, I'm going to put you on the spot one more time. So like, what do you have your favorite drink item from Mariah or do your favorite menu item?
So everybody here probably knows that I'm very, very picky with my drinks because I don't like sweet drinks. I don't like when it's too sweet or too sour or like too too much like stuff in it. So I usually like just straight is kind of like my go-to sometimes. But my favorite drink that you guys had was the Rita, which again is probably very plain. And I like it with tequila. And there's like a little, what is it? Like the spicy salt around like the side. So yeah, that's probably my favorite drink. And I like all the foods. I'm not a big like red meat eater. So my favorite foods are like either seafood or, anything like vegetable, tuna, things like that. So I haven't been there in a while, actually, regrettably, but I love all the food.
Cauliflower flatbread, which is my favorite.
I love the cauliflower flatbread.
There is a rumor about you, Sherri, that I know has been like divisive in the past about the way you like your olives.
My olives?
Right? Isn't she likes the stuffed olives?
Yeah,
the blue cheese olives.
Yes. Yeah.
I love a martini with blue cheese olives. Like whenever I go to a steakhouse, that's my go-to drink for some reason. I don't even get steak at steakhouses, but when I go to a steakhouse and it's like something about the atmosphere of like a really good steakhouse that has like, like a Barclay Prime or I love, they always have really good blue cheese olives.
I think one of the fellas yucked your yum. Wasn't it one of you who doesn't like blue cheese olives?
Well, I
know Scott doesn't.
I like blue cheese olives. Gin martini with blue cheese olives I love that. But
do you guys offer that, or do you offer that at Mariah in honor of your gorgeous wife?
I wonder if Sherri knows this. Things that Sherri is particular about in restaurants, Scott is anal about here. So like we always have blue cheese olives. Or like, there's like certain things that I think he just picks up living with his wife, who he loves, that he like wants to make sure is emulated here.
Yep. And I think, listen, we all deeply respect Sherri as somebody who is a thoughtful partner and certainly invested in the restaurant, knows a good drink. She like probably the bane of her existence is that like every time I've ever been drunk, for some reason, it hasn't been with Sherri. I don't know why.
Never. Yes.
Yeah, Sherri's always like, anytime I call her, I'm like, I've been drinking. She's like, I'm going to kill you. But I think that Sherri, as much as Sherri, in your profession, you could be somebody who's like uptight because you're dealing with numbers. You are certainly not uptight. You love to have a good time, love a good cocktail, love a good drink. And why your opinion is really valued at Mariah and the Rap Shack. Sherri, I hope you liked being on as much as we loved having you.
Thank you. Yeah, I did.
To the podcast. We hope that you come again. And next time we'll dive a little bit deeper.
All right.
Awesome.
Signing off. Again, if you want to see us at Mariah, we'd love to have you. Catch us at where? Boys, tell us where to find us.
Where are we at? You know what we have to do? We have to get like a little clip and just cut it in a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I know we have it at the beginning.
Follow us.
Follow us, like us.
Follow us, like us.
Next week we're going to be taking a week off because this one is taking a vacation. But then we'll be back with our new sponsor. We might as well say it right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Cisco Foods is going to be our new sponsor.
Amazing. Very exciting. Very exciting. All right, so signing off, everybody. Everybody have a great vacation.
Awesome.
A
Thank you, thank
vacation
you.
for Luca means a non-vacation for Scott. I'm sure you're going to be working 20 times harder.
I'm already.
Your, public service announcement, please shower before you get into bed with Sherri. Try to get home at a reasonable hour and do something about the sheets. That does sound very annoying.
There's nothing I can do.
I agree. You get to a certain level.
Yeah,
It's like, I
there's
just
nothing I
can't.
do. It's just-
There's so many things you could do. If we had a comment section, I bet you 400 people would be saying, like, you can do this, you can do that. All right, but anyway.
Can you control how you sleep?
Yeah.
You control how
when
you sleep?
You're
it just seems like a very fixable problem. It's like, I don't get it.
I think that's ridiculous too. You're
He's a very aggressive sleeper. Like when he turns, he like when I turn a lot in the middle of the night, but I try to be like gentle. He's like his whole body will like right. So
I go in the middle when I get in the bed. Why are you getting in bed so strong?
It's like I'm like, are you jumping in the bed? Like, can you just like?
You're an aggressive getter in or better, right?
He just yeah.
What do you have to say?
Nothing. I was just. I mean, that's tough. Getting in bed too hard.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
All right. Well, gentlemen.
Listen, if I'm. Yeah.
And so,
I'm with Sherri. It sounds very annoying.
No, the best is one of her pet peeves. Okay, the door has to be open enough for our dog, who's a small dog, to get out, but not too big of a gap.
That makes total sense.
It has to be the perfect split. Like
yes.
So it needs to be like 6 inches to 8 inches. If it's anything.
But I got something to say to you. After living with a lady and having a dog for this long, how have you not figured that out?
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
And I have to do the same thing at my house. Like enough for Zuko to get out of bed and go out of the room if he wants, or also scratch the door. So obviously preferred is to shut the door, but you can't shut the door.
Right.
So to maximize dark options, you've got to like condense the space of the door.
The only thing that I really fight against is the unconscious thing. If you're consciously awake and doing something, whatever. If you are unconsciously asleep, how can you help if you pull the damn?
I'm telling you, Lupe, it has to be.
I don't think he's
getting into bed.
Win for losing.
Win for losing.
I think when he aggressively gets into bed, then it like brings that fitted sheet probably up to
yanks it off.
Yep.
So gently think dainty. Think of the word dainty when getting into bed.
Yeah, and then somebody breaks in the house and he'll think dainty. Yeah.
Oh, to breaking the house and getting in bed and taking the sheets up? I hear that's a huge crime in the Philadelphia area.
Huge.
That'd be amazing.
All right, guys.
Right, gotta go, boys.
Bye, everyone.
I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us today for Organized Mayhem Podcast. Check us out on YouTube, X, our website, rapshackpa.com, and wayofphilly.com for updates. Once again, welcome to the Mayhem.